I understand that our man, the boy from Bondi,
Bondi Battler,
has a new moniker when it comes to job title. G'day, Tommy.
How are you?
Very well.
Good to see you, boys.
What's the new title for you at the Rugby League Players Association?
Yeah, so this year moved into a new role, which is General Manager of Past Players in Transition. So, focusing on players in retirement, transition, all things post-footy, and even in periods where players just don't have a contract or head to the Super League.
Enjoying that so far?
It's been great. Obviously, I've been with the RLPA for probably 5 or 6 years now. So other than just having a nice change, it's something I'm really passionate about. And it's also a space that there's a whole lot of work to do, but some really good opportunity to make some impact. It's probably not a space that's reached its potential, I'd say, when you speak to most players who've played elite sport.
Are you finding that? Because I came through an era where you had to work as well, and then Super League hit and changed everything. Now these kids, some of them come out of school with grandiose ideas that you're going to be the next Jonathan Thurston or Darren Lockyer. But as we know, the career is short. It's only 30-odd games or something, isn't it? So
it's easy to forget that there's obviously, you see the high-profile players that might have played a whole 10, 15 years. Some only play a couple of years. And so there's that full spectrum of players coming out of the game that you see. Most of them probably haven't worked a full-time professional job elsewhere before. But that's some of the things that we're helping them with in our new past play and transition program.
I can't believe we've got a general manager of past players in transition who looks like a bloke who's transitioning back to playing.
Yeah, I know.
How fit does he look?
He does look fit.
I appreciate that, boys.
Yeah.
Are you playing a bit of touch up the Goldie?
No, not running around. My knees are shot.
In the Gold Coast?
I am,
good
moved
boy.
up there. Yeah, the knees are shot, so no touch, Fletch. But there's a crew of us, old has-beens who get to the gym every other day, so that keeps me fit. And obviously there's plenty of time at the beach, so I suppose you want to be looking as good as you can.
But that's one good point about past players is the connection when they finish, because you've spent your whole life around 20, 30 other blokes, and all of a sudden it just stops. And
Absolutely.
a lot of the players miss that, don't they? So
For sure.
That's got to keep up the connection.
Big part of our program that we launched only this year, which came off the back of last year's CBA, our new program. But one of the big pillars is connection. I think players that might have different challenges around employment, medical, but connection is a big part of it. Feeling like you're still part of the family, you're acknowledged and respected for what you contributed to the game, and even just the opportunity to feel like you have those chances to reconnect with old players or come back to your old club for events. So, part of our program, we're putting on a lot more events. Some of them are based around fitness and health. Sometimes it's catching up, for a few bevies at a reunion. And we're holding some events this weekend around grand final. We've got a reunion on Saturday night, so that's another opportunity. Even some, some events around charity walks. We participated in the Big 3 Trek with Beanies for Brain Cancer.
Yep.
So had a crew of past players involved in that. So different opportunities like that, bringing people back who probably feel a little bit, isolated or washed
a bit
aside.
like embarrassed.
Yeah,
Do they
potentially.
feel a bit embarrassed?
Yeah, some people do. It's probably like a big spectrum. I could speak from firsthand from that. I felt like, post-career probably, didn't feel like I reached my potential or I fell out way before I wanted to. So there's probably an adjustment period where, you're thinking, oh, geez, am I still part of it? Where are my crew? But being able to connect makes you feel like part of the family again.
It's hard because a lot of the NRL players grow up and they're obviously, a lot of them are above average players at the time and they get a reputation with their family, and almost every family thing you go to, Tommy or Joel or Brian, how's the football going? And you're so aligned with
You
this
say,
thing.
shut up, Auntie Jane. What would you know?
That's right.
Get off the piss.
That's right.
Look after your kids.
So
Sorry, are we on air?
No, we're on air. So that's hard for them. So well done what you're doing. So the NRL also do a good job in welfare. So are you connected with the NRL when it comes to these types of things, or is it a bit both doing your own thing?
Yeah, in the past player space, it's something that the RLPA is running, total responsibility for post that CBA. And part of that's because players build affinity with the RLPA through their career now, particularly, as you would have seen over the last 5 or 10 years. So naturally, when you leave the game, you feel, you've been represented by the RLPA, you have sort of personal connections and trust there. So it's just a natural space. We see it in other sports, AFL, cricket, NFL. Their players' associations lead that past player space in a lot of the wellbeing programs. So it's no different to what we're doing now.
What about the RLPA? And this is a question without notice, where Nelson's missing out on a grand final. Is that something the RLPA would concern himself with, moving forward, where perhaps you can, I know in the racing industry, for the acts that aren't so much that heinous, they can defer a suspension, so they could ride in a Melbourne Cup? Or, does the Rugby League Players Association concern themselves with things like that, or is that more just the rules for rugby league?
We do, in the sense that we're part of the annual review that the NRL run. And obviously, our role is to work out provide the platform for players to have a voice in those reviews. So, I mean, obviously, you want players' opinions, given they're the ones out there doing it. So, our role is to go and get feedback from our playing group. We do that obviously ad hoc, but also at the end of the year, and ask them things about whether it is judiciary or other matters on field. So, absolutely, we've got a role there. Our leading players, we've got a player advisory group. We've been involved in the judiciary review on many years, so we would put forward their point of view. And Nelson's a really good example of I guess the nuance of the system.
Yeah,
missing a grand final, it's tough to see.
Yeah, but on the other side, so had the Roosters won, and this is something that
Lindsay misses out.
Lindsay misses out.
Well,
right? So do we need that?
Well,
very big chance he could miss out.
Yes, but remember how when Tommy Turbo got a category through Origin, and then they got an independent doctor. I would think that anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
It's hypothetical.
Likely misses.
Likely misses.
Okay. We will see that
Didn't
scenario.
happen.
We could see that scenario every year. Should we not have? And I don't know if this is feedback from the players. Should we not have a week off before the grand final? So therefore, those who do cop a HIA aren't missing a childhood dream. Things like that. Is that the type of stuff that you're asking the players?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's all sorts of feedback we might get, whether it's the season schedule, when should rep season matches or All-Stars be played, things about the NRLW State of Origin series as an example, or expansion. What's the playing group's feedback on what the season structure looks like next year when you've got 2 more teams? So we'll go to the players, put forward the pros and cons, or work through the sort of finer detail, give them an opportunity to understand it all and say, what do we think, and go back to the NRL with a form position.
What about the Canterbury kid that, it was well documented. They had the wrestling, and they picked on him because he was late and he had to wrestle everyone and stuff like that. And if a player comes to you, Tommy, and says something like that and says, they made me do 10 sand hills rather than 4 because I was late, do you feel to yourself sometimes going, I just harden up, mate, to yourself? Or do you have to take every case and, I suppose, on its merits? But when a player is complaining that he's getting treated unfairly, and you know what happens in off seasons, do you step in, or what do you do with stuff like that?
Yeah, I think each case you weigh up the merits of it. But I think generally speaking, like pre-seasons and being a rugby league player in general is so difficult. So I don't think we actually have too many that I would class as, I guess, complaining. I think if someone comes to us with something that they have an issue with, or having some sort of disagreement with, we generally just first point is just try and get an understanding of it. What's happening, why they're coming to us, what the actual issue is, and work out what the best part we can do to help support them. It might be a wellbeing issue. It might be something that their agent can help them with, or their wellbeing manager. If it is a contractual thing, like obviously that's our role to support them, get the correct legal parameters, work it all out. So I guess it is case by case, but yeah, sure. If there's a player that's asking us for advice, we might actually be able to say, look, here's your grounds, here's what you're entitled to, and here's what your obligations are as well, and help them understand what's fair and reasonable.
Have you had any contact from Josh Addo-Carr?
Josh Addo-Carr.
Involving his issue?
Yeah, so Josh, as all players who have integrity matters, will reach out to him and his agent and work through it. So, yeah, obviously it's a tough one for Josh, and I'm sure he's going to be looking to try and rectify that. But I suppose I don't have too much to say specifically.
Is that grounds for sacking? Do you know? Like, is it? Like,
So
could the Bulldogs get rid of him on those grounds?
Probably wouldn't want to talk specifically about Josh's case, but there's a process that each club has that they can use if they do want to discipline a player. So anything from, I guess, a formal warning, a breach, all the way through to termination. There's obviously legal parameters, so certain things have to be followed, I suppose. You can't just rock up one day and say, yeah, we think we're going to sack you.
Yeah.
There's got to be a formal process. Players got to be afforded the chance to tell their side of the story, front the board. And I guess that process is really important to us in our role. So our role at the RLPA is not to work out whether a player's stuffed up or not. It's, are they given a fair process? Are they given the process that's fair and reasonable, and what they're legally entitled to?
What do you make of the Kalyn Ponga noise, I suppose, about him? The RLPA, of course, could understand some of the feedback. The players are playing a lot of football. What did you make of the Kalyn Ponga situation?
I think that's a good point to start with, how much footy there is. I think naturally the calendar's so jam-packed that you are going to see some of our stars miss out, whether it's through injury, well-being issues, or even just general sort of fatigue. So that's probably a really good starting point. I think what was frustrating about that situation was probably just the ongoing sort of attention, and probably the pile-on. I thought was probably a little bit unnecessary. There's been a couple of instances that players in particular have come to us about that said, come on, this is probably getting a bit much. Is this necessary? You might have seen we released a statement, was it last week? And that was off the back of players coming to us probably over a couple of years, raising different sorts of issues. But the Kalyn situation and another one in recent times probably was the last straw, I suppose. And players said, this is probably not acceptable in terms of the pile-on and the critique, and probably gave us a good chance to say, all right, everyone who's reporting on footy or just having an opinion on it, are we doing it fairly? Are we going over the top, or are we actually in the, what's reasonable? So that was, it was a little bit frustrating to see.
Are you guys consulted with the NRL about when new teams are coming in? I'm just thinking about the Papua New Guinea side that's coming in 2028 or
unconfirmed.
Unconfirmed.
So yeah, obviously the expansion bid is front of mind for everyone. So again, our role with players as a new team coming in, what's that look like? Where's it going to be? We have part of our role is also just surveying players in terms of their opinions on what might be a suitable location if expansion does go ahead. And obviously the NRL, it's their job to make a call on expansion. So we're not trying to decide where the next team is. It's not our role.
Do they consult you?
Yes, they would. Our expectation is they'll come to us and at least present what the latest information is, why they might be considering a location, how it's going to work logistically, safety concerns, or even high performance facilities, all the things that matter to high performance, athletes who we're representing. That's the stuff that we'd expect them to consult with us on.
Chatting with Tommy Symonds, General Manager of Past Players and Transition. Now, a few transitioning, Tommy. Retiring players in this season include Dale Finucane, Jesse Bromwich, Aaron Woods, Tyron Peachy, Sean Johnson, Brad Parker, retiring at just 27.
Hank, what's up with Hank?
Hank Scorpio.
Fellow redhead.
Is he busted, or he just had enough?
He's had a long career. He's had a great career, Brad. Yeah. He's carved out over 100 games for Manly. He's a well-loved player, and I think his body's telling him, he's had enough. But he's been a great stalwart for the club at Manly.
Do you remember when he absolutely flogged Sevo?
Yeah.
Sevo had never recovered. You remember that? He hasn't recovered.
Yeah.
Do you remember it? Because no one was ever whacking him. He's running over people for fun.
I'm not sure.
And Hank Scorpio, I'll never forget it.
He's Sevo's kryptonite.
Very tough.
He came and flogged Sevo, and I am convinced Sevo's never recovered.
He hasn't been back?
He hasn't been.
He could be right.
It's the redhead power. Look at his wrists. Look at those things.
RHP, redhead power.
Red... thick wrists.
Okay, away from RHP, redhead power. So those players, and there's many more, I suppose, who will be transitioning life after football. The program, how does it loosely look? Like, what would happen for these players over the next 12 months, say?
Yeah, it's a good. This week, obviously, grand final week, there's an official sort of retiring players tribute that the NRL celebrates on grand final day for players in the NRL and NRLW who are retiring, have played a certain amount of matches or contributed to the game, which is a really cool way to celebrate their contribution. At the RLPA now, with our new program, we'll be running a transition workshop on the Saturday, I guess, to help players.
What does that mean? Tell us what
does it mean?
So, not what it means. Yeah. What will they be doing?
So we'll give them an understanding of this new program, what they can access, whether it's their medical benefits, their player transition manager. So I've got a couple of awesome staff from our team as well. Joey Nulliver.
One of the greats.
Absolute legend. Has great connection with players. And young Keegan Hipgrave, up-and-comer, great fella, very personable. So those two in particular will now be sort of allocated to everyone that comes out of the game. Not just those who are celebrated this week, by the way. So everyone, whether you've retired from, you've played 5 games or you've had to go to Super League or you've got cut, they'll be allocated someone to be their one-to-one player transition manager, helping them with employment, education grants, particularly in that first few years, but also, like I said before, around events. We've also got a couple of medical initiatives coming out, which is going to be super helpful. Long-term medical's a tough one. After a long career, many players suffer from a, physical health perspective. So some things we're trying to solve in that area too, which I'm really looking forward to launching.
Joe Nullivow, that's a great fitting appointment for transitioning to retirement. He actually helped me transition to retirement. My career was flying. He absolutely destroyed me one day, and I retired very soon after that.
You got Hank Scorpio.
I got Nullivowed. Anyway,
Nullivowed and
gentle giant, Joey.
Oh, what a great fella.
He is a champion.
Just before you go, of course it is Dally M's. We don't want to take the spotlight off that, but you've got your own awards coming up as well. Tell us the process. So I know it's different to the Dally M's and different to how most people do it, but how do you land on your award winners?
So purely from player voting. So it's the only player voted award in the game, which is something we hold our hat on.
Once at the end of the year, or is it?
So end of the year, we run a process essentially leading players nominate players from their own team, and it ends up being a top 4 after a working group comes together, nominates 4 from each club, and then the entire competition votes on who their players champion is, their MVP of the year. Obviously, a simple tally count. Whoever gets the most votes from a 3-2-1 from each player, the winner is most votes. That's kind of the simple part of it. We also have a team of the year, which is really cool. Similar to Dally M, it's good to weigh up, I guess, how the players see the seasons that have been, and then there's the Rookie of the Year awards as well. So, but yeah, purely player voted end of the season.
Beautiful.
Quick,
Tommy's got to go. He's got to go.
I know. Just
one more
is
Fletch shot,
Lachlan Galvin eligible in the RLPA?
He's got it.
Yes. So
he's already got it.
He's got it. So yes, I know you're a big fan, Fletch. You probably forgot that we announced that. But Lachlan Galvin, really good. Obviously, cracker season. He was obviously ineligible for the Dally M Rookie of the Year, but he won the Players Champion Rookie of the Year alongside our NRLW winner, who was Rory Owen from the Parramatta Eels. So a couple of cracking rookie seasons there.
And Reece Walsh got Best Tourist of the Year, Evan Barley. Well done.
Tom Symonds, RLPA, thanks to yourself and Joey for coming in too, by the way. Enjoy Dally M's. And
appreciate you having
Ryan,
me, fellas.
Ryan is keeper.
Of course.
Thanks, Fletch.
Happy
anytime, mate.
Mate, this is what happens in Bondi.
I'll come stay at Fletcher's house in Bondi next time.
This is how you just sort of, you come out of Bondi and just become a better person.
Yeah, Tommy Symonds, if you missed any of that chat, catch up on YouTube. He'll be the best dressed when you see the vision. And, of course, you can catch up on the podcast as well. But I tell you what, it's come a long way from when I was part of the Players Union many, many years ago. The boys and the girls involved at the RLPA have them absolutely humming with the players' best interests at heart. Tommy Symonds, thanks for joining the Run Home with Joel and Fletch.